wind. There's the flight deck's big dome bobbing up and down. Love that parade. Anyway, let's go ballistic. Follow the money. And when I say follow the money, I'm saying follow that gigantic head. I knew it when he blew me up this morning going, dude, you know they're plus 400. I'm like, I usually don't have the patience. I'm not in it for that long con, that long play. But I got to follow the money. I might hit that. Anyway, the Yankees get their guy. And not only did they get their guy, this is a guy they've wanted for a long time. They wanted him since they drafted him back in 2008. And the guy they tried to trade for when he was in Pittsburgh. They've been on this guy for a long, long time. And not only did they get him, in so doing, they kept him away from a couple of AL rivals in the Astros and Angels. Especially important that they kept him away from the Astros. You see, Garrett Cole, as Brian Cashman called him, the white whale. That's a guy they had been chasing for years, and they finally got him. And you can see why they would. Man, this dude's a horse. This dude's a stud. He's a boss. He's a beast. Whatever you want to call him. There's so many different ways to measure that, but let me pick this one out for you. In fact, this stat I had to confirm. I saw this stat, and I thought to myself, misprint. There's no way that's true. 323 or 26 strikeouts, 326 in 212 and a third innings. 326 strikeouts in 212 and a third innings. I mean, not as great as when my guy, Old Hoss Radbourn, struck out 441 guys while pitching for the Providence Grays back in 84. You were there, Rit. You know. Hey-oh! Damn, Rit, you look like Old Hoss Radbourn. I'm going to say that my man Old Hoss was probably pitching to a bunch of part-time baseball players and full-time butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers. Garrett Cole is pitching full-time to professional hitters who have more access to data, intel, and every kind of analytic known to mankind. And these guys still do not have a chance against him. He had one loss after May 22nd. One. That's why you want that guy, because he delivers in the regular season, in the postseason. You think that's going to look any good in pinstripes? I'm guessing it will. Now, it's not going to guarantee the Yankees win a World Series, because you can't guarantee a World Series. You can't buy a World Series. And it's not on Cole to win them a World Series in order to earn that money. I want to make that clear, too. A lot of people hate hearing that. This guy's already earned that money. He's earned that money with what he's already done. And just so we're clear, the Yankees and their ownership group are doing just fine no matter what happens. Even if Cole turns into the second coming of Kevin Brown, the Yankees are still going to be just fine. Don't worry about the cost. Worry about the intent. And the Yankees' intent is to win, and to win it all. Because at a time where even major market teams like the Red Sox and the Cubs are reportedly looking to dump elite players to cut their costs, the Yankees are willing to spend big. The Yankees are willing to take that big swing because they set it up the right way. And they can. Which is good, man. It's great. People root for good teams. People root for good teams, not good, smart, fiscal moves and sustained revenue generation. Believe me, as you look back, you're not going to look back at that time that, yeah, my team, it was so great. Remember that time we had that great revenue growth? Remember that time we were so responsible? Remember that time where we averaged this cost per win? No. Think about your favorite memories as a fan. What are the images you see? The big wins, the painful losses, right? Moments when your favorite team won it all or when it got this close. Not when they passed on an elite free agent to sign a middle-of-the-road player so they can maximize their own earning potential. Nobody's talking about that. The Yankees are trying to win, and we shouldn't be at the point where you have to hype that, but apparently we are. Sure, Cole is a SoCal native. I am a SoCal native. It would have been great to see him pitch for either of the SoCal teams. But again, I don't root. I don't root for anything other than something to talk about, and Cole and the Yankees just gave me that, so I'm all good. I like it. I like it. I like what it represents. Then you got Chris Mack and Louisville. Chris Mack has turned Louisville basketball around in a hurry. They were not supposed to be this good, this fast, but they are this good, and it was that fast. They're the number one team in the country, and they can beat you in multiple ways. Then they ran into a team from Lubbock last night at Madison Square Garden. Texas Tech, 70. Louisville, 57. Now, if you want to talk about a team that is not supposed to be this good, and a team that's not supposed to be where they are, they're not supposed to be this good where they are. Nobody fits that better than Tech. Forget being this good, this quick. Texas Tech is not supposed to be this good ever. Period. All right? Never mind this good, this fast. They're not supposed to be this good, period. Texas Tech was not supposed to win the Big 12 last year. Texas Tech was not supposed to go to the Final Four last year. And they sure as hell were not supposed to lose 4 of their top 5 scorers off last year's team and then come right back this year and beat the number one team in the country in Madison Square Garden. Yet that's exactly what they just did. That's exactly what they just did because that's exactly what Chris Beard does. Whatever you expect him to do, he will do it better, much better. You think that guy can't get to the Final Four at Texas Tech? He will. You think that he won't go into Madison Square Garden and turn in a showing so good that security had to prevent a court storming? He will. You think that he won't dance after a W like that? He will do that too. Incredible. If you're watching the video on CBS Sports Network, that is amazing. Tech turned that locker room into a mosh pit. And they turned that Louisville game into a street fight. A street fight for street dogs. The permanent residents of the Garden, the New York Knicks, could do a hell of a lot worse than studying that game film and finding some of that Texas Tech magic. Because I can't remember the last time I saw a Knicks team battle and scrap and grind and hustle the way the Red Raiders did. And don't get it twisted. This is not about another number one team going down. And don't start getting all worked up about, oh, man, what a topsy-turvy season this is. Up is down. Down is up. What that was, I mean, it might be those things, but what last night was not about Louisville losing. It was about Texas Tech winning. It was about Texas Tech announcing they're back. Them announcing they're not going anywhere. Them announcing they have not lost their chip. I'll get back to that in 1 second, but they are still Texas Tech. They are still 4-1. They are still looking to wreck you, even if they hadn't played their best defense, or even if they had not played their best basketball overall before last night. Let's be honest. Tech had really not looked like Tech until last night, especially on their defense. They were banged up. They were missing some pieces. But then it all came together. They showed up last night the way you expect Tech to show up. And nobody was bigger than Avery Benson, the shaggy-haired former walk-on coming off the bench for 10 points and a pair of huge blocks in the first half. If you didn't know about him before, now you do. Because, as Beard himself said, quote, Avery is the backbone of our culture. He's in his 3rd year at Texas Tech. He has an Elite 8 ring, a Final Four ring, a Big 12 championship ring. That's not happenstance. He's a big part of that. He's a tough guy who knows his role, plays his role. He's unselfish and tough. But let the story read, he's a good player. He earned the right to play in games like this, end quote. And he didn't just play in a game like that. He changed a game like that. He came into last night with 3 career blocks. He ended the first half with 2 more. Chris Clark said after that game, quote, Avery's a big-time player. He's a leader. I didn't really know too much about him before I got here, but when I did, They told me Avery was the toughest player. I have been expecting that since day one, end quote. So if you're the toughest player on the toughest team, that's saying something. And that toughness showed up. And so did that defense. They held Louisville without a bucket for nearly 10 minutes in the first half. They forced 13 turnovers in the second half. And this is what it sounded like when it was over.
Inbounds Davide Moretti, and that is it. Number one has been knocked off its perch. Winner, winner, Cardinal dinner. Texas Tech has defeated number one Louisville and defeated a first-ranked team for the first time ever tonight, 70-57.
Learfield IMG Radio. Winner, winner, Cardinal dinner.
Winner, winner, Cardinal dinner.
I see what you did there. Never lose your chip. This is the Chris Beard mentality. He's got a lot of famous sayings. That's one of my favorite ones. Never lose your chip. And no matter the success that they had last year, that chip is still firmly planted on their shoulders. They are not pet store dogs. They're still street dogs. They aren't blue bloods. They don't want to be either. They want to be themselves. And last night against the best team in the country, they were themselves. And they dominated. I know that I do not have to tell you this, but never lose your chip, Coach. Never lose your chip.
The Red Raiders have thoroughly rattled the cage of these birds.
I took part in the Men of March series that CBS has. And I went to Lubbock and I sat down with Chris Beard. We spent some time together. We had a sit-down interview. He interviewed me as part of his fireside chat. We broke bread. We hung out. I met his staff. Got a tour of the facilities. Great time. That's where that picture is from that I put up on Twitter. What a great win for them last night. Great, great win for the program. Had to acknowledge that. Texas Tech not losing their chip. And they go into Madison Square Garden and they beat top-ranked Louisville. Garrett Cole gets his money. Yankees get their guy. Something else I want to hit. And next hour is a busy hour. Amanda Nunes has never been on this show. She is fierce. She's unbelievable. She is the UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion. Remember Dana White, and Dana White and I have talked about this before. Dana White at one point said, I will never, ever, ever let women fight in the UFC. Good thing he does. Good thing he did. Ronda Rousey got it started, and when people like Amanda Nunes and others saw the kind of success that Ronda Rousey was having, it just brought new people to the game. Athletes, combat fighters, people who saw Ronda Rousey and thought, man, it's amazing. Look how big she is. She's the biggest thing in the game, male or female. But she's limited. I could do better. I am better. I have more to bring to it. And hence you have somebody like Amanda Nunes. She's incredible. We'll have her on for the first time next hour. Jaguars kicker Josh Lambo is coming up next hour. And I do want to talk about Le'Veon Bell and the aftermath. When the New York media got to Le'Veon and said, hey, man, like, what about that? What about you being out bowling the night before you could not play in a game? You missed practice. You missed a walkthrough. You weren't clear to play in the game, yet you were out on a Saturday night before that game, bowling, not far from the facility. What do you have to say for yourself? And to paraphrase, he answers along the lines of, I'm glad you asked the question. What do I have to say for myself? I rolled a 251. Did you see that? What do I have to say for myself? What do I have to show for myself? My high game. That's what I have to show for myself.
Yo.
Adam Hawk, really quick. Throw your headphones on. So earlier in the program, somebody mentioned something about the Rome family Christmas cards, and the response was what?
Yeah, Liz in Falls City was wondering if we were going to do them again this year because last year we had clones submit their Christmas cards, and then we put them on television. And I just talked to Sharon, our TV producer in New York, and he said, yeah, let's do it again. So if anyone would like to have them or their family
Let me jump in. Adam, why don't you solicit right now? Solicit, radio term. Solicit the Christmas cards from the clones.
If anyone would like to have them or their family or them and their cat or whatever which would be cool. On our television show,